Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Shuklam Bharadharam Vishnum Sasivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopasantaye Yasyat Viradavakradhya Parishadhya Parasatam Vignam Nignanti Satatam Vishvaksenam Tamasraye Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheswaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bande Jagadgurum. With Bhagavan's grace, we completed the Dhyana Yoga yesterday. So let us do a full review as we normally do. First in English and then in Sanskrit. Embracing Divinity Through Meditation. Chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga. Sri Bhagavan said, a renunciant and a yogi is one who does his actions without depending on the results, not the one who discards his spiritual disciplines or the one who remains inactive. My dear Pandava, know that what has been described as renunciation is embracing divinity only. None can embrace divinity without sacrificing the desire to possess. It is said that for the seeker of freedom, doing action is the means of progress. Purification of the mind is the means as he progresses to embrace the indweller and becomes skilled at it. He starts embracing the indweller when he doesn't attach himself to the sense objects or actions and renounces all possessive desires and resultant resolutions. One must progress by one's own efforts. One must not put oneself down because one is one's own friend and enemy as well. Is it not so? He who has mastered himself is his own friend. He who has not mastered himself becomes his own enemy and plays the role of an opponent to himself. He who has mastered himself stays peaceful and undisturbed with the opposing sensations of cold and heat, pleasure and pain. He remains peaceful and unperturbed by honor and humiliation. His peace is firm and stable. He who is content, having experienced the truth of the scriptural teachings, who has mastered his senses and who perceives sand, stone and gold as the same, is said to be skilled in embracing the indweller. He who perceives the uniting common thread among the good-hearted people, friends and enemies, people minding their own business without being concerned with either helping or harming others, people who are neutral in their disposition, people given to hatred, relatives, noble souls and sinners, is most exalted indeed. The person who wants to embrace divinity must always, in the privacy of solitude, install himself with the indweller. He must control his body and mind, must be without desires and possessive tendencies. In a clean place, he prepares a stable seat for himself that is neither too high nor too low, and covers it with grass, animal skin, and a piece of cloth. Seated on that, controlling the impulses of the mind and senses and directing them to the indweller, he must practice the purification of his mind. Keeping his body, head and neck erect, stable and motionless, without cognizing external objects, with eyes focused on the tip of the nose, facilitating one-pointed mental vision, without fear of any sort, with a controlled and peaceful mind, practicing celibacy, keeping me as the goal and thinking of me, he becomes spiritually skillful and competent. So, like this, always with single-pointed focus and attention, that yogi, when he completes his practice and embraces me, he is established in me and achieves supreme peace. Arjuna, this embracing the indweller, the practice of doing that, is not for a person who eats too much. It is not for the person who does not eat at all. Also, it is not for a person who has got excessive sleep. And it is also not for a person who does not sleep at all. Eating in moderation, moving about in moderation, and in all the actions applying moderation, and with moderate amount of sleep, moderate amount of wakefulness, for him, for this person, this embracing the indweller, the practice of doing that is an activity that removes difficulties and sorrow. When the well-controlled mind that is focused on the indweller, pulling the desires inwards, controlling the desires, and pulling the mind away from the sense objects, when it is established in the indweller, then at that point all the attachments and attractions to the various sense objects automatically leave him. When they leave him automatically, and as a result of him focusing on the indweller, he is called highly competent, highly skilled in this practice. Just like a flame that in a windless place does not waver, the same way the yogi, the practitioner who directs his mind to the indweller, that yogi, for his mental agitations and mental vibrations, they remain still. They do not waver at all. When the mental impulses cease to exist by serving the indweller continuously, then the indweller is contacted and bliss is experienced. Knowing this bliss to be endless, beyond the senses and realizable only in wisdom, knowing that there is no slippage once established in this bliss, realizing after attaining this bliss that there is no attainment more important, experiencing while established in this bliss that even major hardships do not cause any disturbance whatsoever. Understand this bliss to be the embrace of the indweller. It is sans sadness. Practice this with determination and conviction. Totally eradicating all desires born from acquisitive resolutions and actions, reining in the senses from all directions with the mind, seek continuously and firmly to be peaceful with the courage and determination of wisdom. Direct and fix the mind on the indweller with no other thoughts. Whatever the reasons may be, whenever the unstable and unsteady mind goes after external things, at that time and place, the mind must be instantly and immediately controlled and placed with the indweller only. The most sublime bliss reveals itself and embraces this embracer of divinity whose mind is at rest, whose aggressive impulses have been pacified, who is sinless and who has become Brahman himself. When the spiritual aspirant thus practices the focusing on the indweller at all times, no sins attach to him, and he very easily touches the indweller. The bliss he experiences then is endless indeed. With his mind immersed in the practice of focusing on the indweller, he experiences a unity among the apparent diversities. He sees the same indweller appearing as himself and all the things around as well. He who sees me everywhere and sees all things in me is never lost to me, nor am I lost to him. That spiritual aspirant who is established in the experience of unity in the apparent diversity, worshipping me present in all beings, gets established in me at all times, regardless of whatever action he undertakes. My dear Arjuna, that spiritual aspirant who always keeps himself with the indweller and experiences both pleasure and misery to be the same is the most exalted. So it has been ascertained. Arjuna said, My dear Madhusudana, you have explained this practice and perspective of equal-mindedness, but I am unable to grasp its steady basis with my unsteady mind. Look, my dearest Krishna, the mind is unsteady, unruly, obstinate, and irrepressible, isn't it? I believe controlling the mind is like controlling the wind, very difficult to do. See, Bhagavan said, no doubt, mighty-shouldered Arjuna, the mind is very difficult to control. It is unsteady. There is no doubt about that. But, my dear son of Kunti, it is possible to control the mind with the practice of directing it to the indweller. It is my assertion that this is not possible for the one who has not mastered his senses and controlled his desires, but the one who, controlling his senses and desires, attempts to control his mind will definitely achieve it. Arjuna said, my dear Krishna, although he has faith, he doesn't make the necessary effort and slips from the discipline of embracing the indweller. Failing to attain the bliss of the indweller, where does he end up? O mighty-shouldered Krishna, weak-willed, he is not firm in following the dictates of the indweller and thereby does not get established with the indweller. Does he then not lose both worlds, the world in the present body and the world post his body, and perish, just as a cloud gets scattered by the wind and perish? Krishna, you are the most qualified to fully remove this doubt of mine. There is no one other than you who can remove this doubt, is there? Sri Bhagavan said, my dear Partha, listen. The person who does all his actions for the welfare of others does not perish in this life or in the afterlife. My dear child, he never ever will get any difficulties. The person who practices embracing the indweller but slips and discontinues it attains the heaven upon leaving the body, lives there for many years, and then takes birth again in the home of the pure-hearted and the wealthy. Or he takes birth in the home of the spiritually disciplined and the wise. Such births are difficult to get indeed. My dear beloved Guru, his spiritual maturity at rebirth is at the level attained in the previous body. He then strives to progress further in efforts to embrace the indweller. Unconsciously, he is impelled by the practice undertaken by the previous body. Even a sincere inquirer of the knowledge about the indweller transcends the bondage of actions originating in the Vedas. The committed spiritual practitioner who practices embracing the indweller with perseverance gets purified of sins, progresses step by step to fulfillment through many births, and attains the most exalted and glorious state of the indweller. This yogi is superior to those performing penance, superior to the knowledge seekers, superior even to those that are action-driven. It has been asserted so. Therefore, my dear Arjuna, be a yogi. But he who worships me with faith and determination, with mind immersed in me, is superior to all the yogis. He is the most exalted of them all. This is my considered opinion. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Shashtodhyaya Dhyana Yoga. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Anasritaha karma palam karyam karma karotiyaha sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragbina chakriyaha. Yam sannyasamiti prahu yogam tam vidhi pandava na hi asanyasta sankalpaha yogi bhavati kaschana. Arurukshor munehe yogam karma karanam uchyate yogarudhasya tasyaiva samaha karanam uchyate. Yada hi nendriyartheshu na karma swanushanchyate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yogarudha tadochyate. Uddharetat atmanatmanam na atmanam avasadayet atmaiva hi atmano bandhuhu atmaiva ripuhu atmanah bandhuratmanatmanastasya yenatmai atmana jitah anatmanastu satrutve vartetam eva satruvat jitatmanah prasantasya paramatma samahitah sitoshna sukhadukkeshu tata mana apamanayoho jnana vijnana triptatma kutastho vijitendriyah yukta ityuchyate yukta iti uchyate yogi samaloštha samakanchana suhrin mitraha udasinam adhyastha देश्य बंधुषु साधुष्वपि च पापेषु समबुद्धिः विशिष्यते। योगी युञ्जीत सततम् आत्मानं रहसि स्थितः एकाकी यतचित्तात्मा निरासीः अपरिग्रहः। शुचौ देशे प्रतिष्ठाप्य स्थिरम् आसनम् आत्मनः न अत्युच्चितम् न अति नीचम् चैलाजिन कुसोत्तरम्। तत्रैकाग्रहम् मनः कृत्वा यत चित्तेन्द्रिय क्रियः उपविश्यासने युञ्जयात् योगम् आत्म विशुद्धये। समम् कायशिरो ग्रीवम् धारयन् अचलम् स्थिरः सम्प्रेक्ष्य नासिकाग्रम् स्वम् दिशश्चानवलोकयन्। प्रशान्तात्मा विगतहीः ब्रह्मचारीः व्रते स्थितः मनः संयम्य मच्चित्तो युक्त आसीत मत्परः। युञ्जन् एवं सदात्मानं योगी नियतमानसः शान्तिं निर्वाण परमां मत्संस्थाम् अधिगच्छति। नात्यस्नस्तु योगिस्ति न चैकान्त मनस्नतः न चाति स्वप्नशीलस्य जाग्रतो नैव च अर्जुन। युक्ताहार विहारस्य युक्तचेष्टस्य कर्मसु युक्त स्वप्नावबोधस्य योगो भवति दुःखः। यदा विनियतं चित्तम् आत्मनि एव अवतिष्ठते निःस्पृहः सर्वकामेभ्यः युक्त इति उच्यते तदा। यथा दीपो निवातस्थः नेङ्क्ते सोपमा स्मृता योगिनः यतचित्तस्य युञ्जतो योगम् आत्मनः। यत्रो परमस्ते चित्तं निरुद्धं योगसेवया यत्र चैवात्मनात्मानं पश्यन् आत्मनि तुष्यति। सुखम् आत्यन्तिकं यत्तद् बुद्धिग्राह्यम् अतीन्द्रियं वेत्ति यत्र न च एवायं स्थितश्चलति तत्त्वतः। यं लब्ध्वा च अपरं लाभं मन्यते नाधिकं ततः यस्मिन् स्थितः न दुःखेन गुरुणापि विचालयते। तं विद्यात् दुःख संयोग वियोगं योग संहितं स निश्चयेन योक्तव्यः योगो निर्विण्ण चेतसा। संकल्प प्रभवान् कामां त्यक्त्वा सर्वान् अशेषतः मनसैवेन्द्रिय ग्रामं विनियम्य समं ततः। शनैः शनैः उपरमेध बुद्धया धृति गृहीतया आत्मसंस्थं मनः कृत्वा न किञ्चिदपि चिन्तयेत्। यतो यतो निश्चरति मनश्चञ्चलम् अस्थितं ततस्ततो नियम्यैतद् आत्मन्येव वशं नयेत्। प्रशान्त मनसं हि एनं योगिनं सुखम् उत्तमम् उपैति शान्त रजसं ब्रह्मभूतम् अकल्मषम्। युञ्जन् एवं सदात्मानं योगी विगत कल्मषः सुखेन ब्रह्म संस्पर्शम् अत्यन्तं सुखम् अश्नुते। सर्वभूतस्थम् आत्मानं सर्वभूतानि च आत्मनि ईक्षते योगयुक्तात्मा सर्वत्र समदर्शनः। यो मां पश्यति सर्वत्र सर्वं च मयि पश्यति तस्याहं न प्रणश्यामि स च मे न प्रणश्यति। सर्वभूतस्थितं यो मां भजति एकत्वम् आस्थितः सर्वथा वर्तमानोऽपि स योगी मयि वर्तते। आत्मौपम्येन सर्वत्र समं पश्यति योऽर्जुन सुखं वा यदि वा दुःखं स योगी परमो मतः। अर्जुन उवाच योऽयं योगस्त्वया प्रोक्तः साम्येन मधुसूदन एतस्याहं न पश्यामि चञ्चलत्वात् स्थितिं स्थिराम्। चञ्चलं हि मनः कृष्ण प्रमाति बलवद्दृढम् तस्याहं निग्रहं मन्ये वायोः इव सुदुष्करम्। श्री भगवान् उवाच असंशयं महाबाहो मनो दुर्निग्रहं चलम् अभ्यासेन तु कौन्तेय वैराग्येन च गृह्यते। असंयतात्मना योगः दुष्प्राप इति मे मतिः अस्यात्मना तु यतता शक्यः अवाप्तुम् उपायतः। अर्जुन उवाच अयति हि श्रद्धयोपेतो योगाचलितमानसः अप्राप्य योग संसिद्धिं कां गतिं कृष्ण गच्छति। कच्छिन् न उभय विभ्रष्टः चिन्नाभ्रम इव नश्यति अप्रतिष्ठः महाबाहो विमूढो ब्रह्मणः पति एतत् मे संशयं कृष्ण छेत्तुम् अर्हसि अशेषतः त्वदन्यः संशयस्यास्य चेत्था न हि उपपद्यते। श्री भगवान उवाच पार्थ नैवेह नामुत्र विनाशस्तस्य विद्यते न हि कल्याणकृत कश्चित् दुर्गतिं तात गच्छति प्राप्य पुण्यकृतां लोकान् उषित्वा शाश्वतीः समाः शुचीनां श्रीमतां गेहे योगभ्रष्टः अभिजायते अथवा योगिनामेव कुले भवति धीमताम् एतद्धि दुर्लभतरं लोके जन्म यदि कृतम् तत्र तं बुद्धिसंयोगं लभते पौर्वदेहिकम् यतते च ततो भूयः संसिद्धौ कुरु नन्दन पूर्वाभ्यासेन तेनैव हीयते हि अवसोऽपि सः जिज्ञासुः अपि योगस्य शब्दब्रह्माति वर्तते प्रयत्नात् यतमानस्तु योगी संशुद्ध किल्बिषः अनेक जन्म संसिद्धः ततो याति परां गतिम् तपस्विभ्यः अधिको योगी ज्ञानिभ्योऽपि मत अधिकः कर्मिभ्यश्च अधिको योगी तस्मात् योगी भव अर्जुन योगिनामपि सर्वेषां मद्गतेन अंतरात्मना श्रद्धावान् भजते यो मां स मे युक्ततमो मतः इति श्रीमद् भगवद गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्म विद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्री कृष्णार्जुन संवादे ध्यान योगो नाम षष्ठोऽध्यायः।